Howdy, listeners. This is your host, Random Nerd, on the Critical Thinking Nerd podcast. This positive masculinity series is aimed at men, but it would be dishonest to talk about partnership, loneliness, and gender conflict without also speaking to the ladies, to the women who are listening. Part 3 focused on how Stoic practices help men face loneliness and live out justice and compassion in love, family, friendship, and community. Part 4 is a sister episode, a word to women about the stories society has been telling you and how similar principles can apply on your side of the equation. This is not an attack on women. It is a challenge to all of us, men and women, to examine the scripts we've inherited and decide which ones we're still willing to obey. The stories modern culture tells women. For the last several decades, women have been bombarded with mixed messages about what it means to be quote-unquote liberated, quote-unquote strong, or quote-unquote empowered. Roughly, the script often sounds like this. You don't need a man. Men are mostly immature, dangerous, or disposable. Your value is in your independence, your career, your desirability, and your ability to, quote, play the game, unquote, like men, but better. If you get hurt, it proves the narrative. See, all men are trash. At the same time, another script is running. You must be effortlessly beautiful, emotionally available, sexually adventurous, financially capable, and socially aware. You should, quote, have it all, unquote, and never complain, or else you're ungrateful. Those two scripts collide, and the result is often exhaustion, bitterness, suspicion toward men as a class, not just toward specific unhealthy men. Loneliness that is hard to admit because culture told you needing anyone is weakness. Ladies, here's some reflection questions to think over. What did your upbringing, media, and friend group teach you to expect from men? Do you default to skepticism or contempt when you hear the word masculinity? Have you ever felt pressure to prove, quote, you don't need anyone, unquote, even when you deeply wanted partnership and support? How these stories fuel the, quote unquote, battle of the sexes. In part 3, the focus was on how male withdrawal, unaddressed shame, and lack of responsibility feed the gender Cold War. On the women's side, there are parallel dynamics. When women are hurt by men, some women are encouraged by online spaces or friend circles to universalize their pain. Quote, all men are dangerous, selfish, childish, unquote. Quote-unquote toxic feminism emerges when the goal quietly shifts from equality and dignity to revenge and domination. Quote, we don't just want justice, we want payback, unquote. Mockery of men's mental health, struggles, or emotions get normalized as just jokes or clapbacks, even as women rightly demand to be taken seriously when they are in pain. This mindset does for women what toxic masculinity does for men. It hardens the heart. It makes empathy feel like betrayal. It makes real partnership feel unsafe because it requires you to see the other side as fully human. Here's another set of questions to think over. Have you ever celebrated or quietly enjoyed a story where a man was humiliated, used, or got what he deserved without actually knowing if justice or even vengeance was happening? Are there influencers, creators, or friend groups in your life who constantly stoke your anger toward men, but never call you to grow, heal, or self-reflect? And if a man spoke about women the way some girl boss spaces speak about men, would you call it hatred? Justice and compassion as feminine strength. Just like men, women are capable of deep justice and compassion. And when those are active, they become powerful forces for healing instead of division. Translated into your world, justice as a woman means naming wrong behavior clearly when men lie, abuse, manipulate, or abandon responsibility. Refusing to excuse bad behavior just because a man is attractive, successful, or says the right things. Not falsely accusing or publicly destroying someone out of spite or group pressure. Compassion as a woman means seeing that not all men are your ex, your father, or the worst clips online. Recognizing that men carry wounds, expectations, and social pressures too, often with far fewer safe spaces to talk about them. Simply recognizing that men are human too. Be willing to listen, set boundaries, and also extend grace where there is genuine repentance and change. And crucially, accountability among women. Just as men need other men to call out toxic masculinity, women need other women to say what you're doing right now isn't strength, it's cruelty. You're using your hurt as a weapon, not as a reason to heal. Essentially, women call out toxic women and say what you're doing is wrong. Healthy sisterhood doesn't just validate every feeling. It gently but firmly checks bitterness, dishonesty, and manipulation. Here's another reflection questions to think over. Do your closest female friends challenge you toward truth and virtue, or mostly toward venting and validation? When was the last time you admitted to another woman, I was wrong in how I treated him? If you have a son, nephew, or your younger brother, what kind of world are you helping build for him with how you talk about and treat men? Stoic parallels for women: identity, responsibility, connection. Even though Stoicism historically focused on male philosophers, many of its core ideas apply just as much to women. You cannot control others, only your own judgment and actions. That means you can't control whether men are always healthy or safe, but you can control your standards, your boundaries, and how you respond to hurt. Virtue over vibes. Instead of centering your life completely on validation, attention, or independence, you can anchor in virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, temperaments. Those empower healthy connection without losing yourself. Responsibility breaks isolation. When women take responsibility, not for men's actions, but for their own responses, their own healing, and their influence on other women, relationships slowly shift from war zones to training grounds. Here's some parallel challenges from part 3 to the ladies. If you're a woman listening, ask yourself, where am I avoiding responsibility in how I talk and relate to men? Where am I feeding the very hostility I say I hate? What would it look like to pair my legitimate pain with legitimate virtue? As the saying goes, to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. This is what these questions are asking. Two sides, one call. To tie this together, here are some compassion and partnership ideas and thoughts to ponder. Men are being called in this series to confront loneliness, step into brotherhood, and live out justice and compassion in concrete ways. Women, ladies, if you choose to walk alongside this journey, you are invited to question the stories you've been sold, to practice your own version of justice and compassion, and to hold each other accountable when hurt turns into hatred. In closing, if you're a man, your job is not to fix women. It's to become the kind of man who is just, compassionate, and hard to corrupt. If you're a woman, your job is not to fix men. It's to become the kind of woman who is honest, fair, and unwilling to let bitterness masquerade as empowerment. If both sides move even a little in that direction, the battle of the sexes loses its audience. In closing, stay reflective, stay grounded, and whether you're a man or a woman, keep asking yourself, am I building a world of partnership and justice, or am I secretly keeping the war alive for truth, transparency, and fairness? If you found this episode meaningful, please continue to listen to my next episode as I dive deeper and research further to share my knowledge with you. Thank you.